So my topic is importance of diet in celiac disease. So as I was saying that before initiating this topic, I would like to share my practical experience on celiac disease. My first experience with celiac disease goes back to my MD days when a patient, a young lady presented with poor weight gain and she was around 35 kgs or so. Associated with that, she had history of loose motions and she had been to many doctors and many physicians as well, and all of them diagnosed her as irritable bowel syndrome and this and that, and she was not uh, diagnosed. And finally, as a young physician, I thought of celiac disease and thought it easy to manage. I thought that what's the big deal, we can stop wheat, and finally we went for the routine tests and diagnosed the patient as celiac disease, went for a biopsy as well to confirm, and finally the patient was advised gluten-free diet. So at that time, what came to my mind was that I asked the patient to stop wheat and it's over. So I asked the patient to stop wheat and then review after 15 or 20 days. The first glitch which I saw that the patient was not improving at all after 15 or 20 days, and the patient was persistent that he has not consumed any wheat. So I was very perplexed that why the patient is not improving when the diagnosis is very clear. So I again inquired, and what I got was that patient said that he has not consumed any wheat, but he was regularly consuming suji. So that suji is primarily prepared from wheat, but the patient and his family members were not knowing this thing. So it is very important to know the local things when we are dealing with dietary advices. So suji is just a preparation from the wheat, and still the patient was not improving. So I again asked the patient to stop all kind of wheat and wheat related products, rye, barley, etc., everything. And I thought that I've given a good advice, and finally the patient must improve. The patient was lost to follow up, and when I again inquired after 3 months, the patient had very minor improvement. There was no significant improvement, and when I inquired, I found that the patient was saying that he was very persistent on the diet, but still once in a week, she used to consume half a roti. So this is very important that we stress upon this point that the patient should be absolutely without gluten. So this was the second mistake which I did in this patient. Then I again followed up the patient, and after a period of say 9 months, what I saw was that the patient's health has generally improved, and her abdominal symptoms had improved. She had gained some weight, and I was very happy. I thought that okay, I have dealt completely with the thing. I have explained to the patient all the things that are relevant, and okay. But the patient came back after next 6 months, and at this time the patient had pedal edema. The patient had pedal edema and she was anemic. So at this point of time, I realized that patients of celiac disease not only need to know what they shouldn't eat, they also should know what they should eat. Depriving patient of all the gluten at times deprives them of many nutritional components which are many times given with gluten. Gluten itself is a protein and it is not that much of value in the nutrition, but gluten increases the palatability of the food. It increases the acceptability of the food, and many times these foods are supplemented with nutrition as well. So removing gluten from all these things may result in many deficiency disorders. So providing a dietary consultation to celiac disease requires a wholesome approach which takes into consideration the social factors, the local dialect, the local foods that are available, what to avoid and what should be taken. So these things will be dealt in detail. So here we can see the fight between the patient and wheat, which is going on. It's not just the wheat, but yes, gluten. So gluten is a translation from Latin for glue, and it refers to combined gliadins and glutenin fraction of the wheat. But we must know that there are many other things like avenins in the oat which are similar to the glutens, and many a times many patients have sensitivity to avenins also which are found in the oats. There are certain cultivars of oat which patients are not tolerating with celiac disease. Many other patients easily tolerate oat. So we must be knowing this. These gluten-related disorders can be classified into autoimmune, allergic, and others. In autoimmune disorders, it includes celiac disease, dermatitis herpetiformis, and gluten ataxia. Wheat allergy is a different entity in which there is a kind of an allergic reaction which may at times include anaphylaxis also, which is immediate and which occurs immediately after consumption of wheat, and we should differentiate it from celiac disease, which is a long-term process. So, celiac disease is a chronic autoimmune disease which is characterized by small intestinal malabsorption after ingestion of gluten. Earlier, it was thought that only this is the thing which is associated with celiac disease, but now it has been recognized that the disease is not just a malabsorption disorder, but rather it is a multi-system disorder in genetically predisposed individuals with certain influence from the environmental factors, viral infections, and dysbiosis of the gut microbiota. So overall, this is a multi-system disease which occurs in certain predisposed individuals. Not all the individuals with HLA-DQ2 or DQ8 positivity have this disease, but these are predisposed. There are certain triggering factors, then there are viral infections and dysbiosis, all of which result finally into a autoimmune process which causes malabsorption in the small intestine. The worldwide prevalence has been reported differently between 1 to 2%. The prevalence of non-celiac gluten enteropathy has been reported between 5 to 6%. The presentation which we classically see with the failure to gain weight, diarrhea, abdominal pain, which is classical presentation of the celiac disease, but we have very commonly encountered non-classical presentations. We have published a case of hypoalbuminemia who presented at later age in 50s, and we were not able to find any other cause of this hypoalbuminemia, and finally on investigation we diagnosed the patient as celiac disease. It may present, as I have already told, as iron deficiency anemia, as osteoporosis. There may be menstrual complaints, amenorrhea. These things may also be presenting features of anemia. And the thing that which comes to our mind in a patient with celiac is that the patient must be a lean and thin built person with frequent diarrhea. That presentation is seen in only 40 to 60% of the patients. It is reported in a literature published in 2003 that 27% of the patients with celiac are obese. So it is not necessary that the celiac presents in a typical classic way of a malnourishment or malabsorption. We can see that in the healthy intestine there are numerous villi, and in a patient with the celiac disease there is a villus atrophy. This villus atrophy in the small intestine leads to malabsorption of a number of nutrients. predominantly iron, calcium, all of these are not diagnosed. The major thing with celiac disease is delayed diagnosis. The literature says that the average delay in diagnosis is 2 to 3 years, but in my experience, I can say that many times the delay is more than 10 to 20 years even. The patients many times are diagnosed in late 30s and 40s when they are having symptoms since their childhood. These symptoms may be missed as vague abdominal pains, as irritable bowel syndromes, as functional bowel diseases. So it is very common to label these patients as having these functional complaints when there may be significant improvement just with the intervention of limiting or stopping the gluten. So it is a misconception. Secondly, that eating a little gluten will not harm you. It is a very misconception that I am avoiding this for the most of the time and only once in a week I am taking gluten. So this has to be pushed into the minds of the patients and the family that eating a little gluten even will be causing the same damage. So even eating a little amount in the celiac disease may trigger it and increase the risk of complications. These complications may range from malabsorption, as I already told. If there is a villous atrophy and these things, then there may be iron deficiency, anemia, vitamin B12, folate deficiency, osteoporosis. Especially in children, there may be generalized malnutrition. It is also said that it may increase the risk of malignancy, though this risk now has been said to be very low. But still, there is a risk of theoretical risk of increased chances of small bowel cancers, lymphomas, Hodgkin's lymphomas, and there may be pregnancy related complications as well. So there are multiple issues with diet in celiac disease. The primary issue relates to the issues with compliance. This is a very serious issue and it's very hard to assure compliance from the patient. Then the second issue in diet with celiac disease is fruit cross contamination. Various fruits do get a little amount of gluten containing substances and it's very difficult to separate gluten from these things. So it's very common ingredient in even the sausage, soy sauce. So it's very likely that those things which are written as gluten free may also be contaminated with gluten. Then there is an issue with alteration in gut microbiota. The gluten-containing things, if totally avoided, may lead to alteration in the gut microbiota, and the beneficial microbiomes may be lost, and there may be overgrowth of enterobacteriaceae and other bacteria which may be harmful. So this is also an issue with the gut microbiota in the patients who are on gluten-free diet. Then there are issues of depression. It's natural from a cultural aspect that people are accustomed to eating wheat, rye, barley, the staple foods that they are routinely eating. So it's very hard to absolutely avoid these, and this may lead to kind of psychological problems as well. Then there can be nutritional deficiencies with iron, calcium, fibers, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, folate. There are multiple gamut of the things which are there in the gluten-containing foods, and it's very hard to avoid them. Gluten provides palatability to the food. It may not have that much of a nutritional importance, but the palatability part is extremely important, and as such, avoiding it totally may be very, very hard. Gluten is omnipresent in virtually every food: bread, pasta, cereals, biscuit, cakes, pies, gravies, sauces. In practically many foods, you can find gluten, and so it's very common that you may be oats as per se do not contain gluten. They contain a protein called adenine, which is suitable for majority of the patients with celiac disease, but may trigger a symptom in few. Gluten may be found even in lipsticks, even on the glue of the postage stamp. So practically gluten is omnipresent, and the issues with the diet relates to multiple factors. The gluten-free diet will be discussed by Madam in detail, but just this concept was introduced by a pediatrician, William Dickey, and I will not go into the FDA recommendations, and these things will be dealt in detail by Madam. There are multiple foods which are gluten-free, and a suitable combination of these foods with a psychological support and persistent follow-up may be a very important factor in dealing with this problem. Thank you so much for the hearing. I would ask Rashmi Madam to take over.
Thank you, sir, for such a comprehensive talk on gluten-free diet and also about the celiac disease and how actually what happens. And we talked about the prevalence and you also discussed about your first case, how you handled your first case and how you rectified her problems by various ongoing counseling and other parameters you consider. Now we move on to the next topic is gluten-free diet, and we welcome Dr. Sunita Malhotra. It's a pleasure to have you, ma'am. She has more than 28 years of experience in teaching, research, and administration in the Department of Dietetics. Presently, she is a chief dietitian and head at PGI Chandigarh, and she's written many national and she's presented many national and international papers. And she's co-authored and plus authored many books like the Dietetics in Practice for Dietitians and Dietetics for You. And she's also contributed in various chapters for many books like Food Safety in 21st Century, and also her in clinical neurosciences and critical care for the critically ill patients. She is recipient of many awards, especially to name as A. N. Radha Award for the best paper in dietary intake and nutritional management of HIV/AIDS patients. Um, and also to talk about her impact of nutrition management of head and neck cancer patients undergoing radiation and in the nutrition intervention is useful or not. So thank you, ma'am. Now we invite you to speak on gluten-free diet.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll just share my screen. So before I start my presentation, I would like to thank organizers, Dr. Deepak Bhardwaj, Dr. Pankaj Bhardwaj, as well as I am thankful to Rashmi for inviting me, for giving me this opportunity to present the gluten-free diet here. So I'll just a moment. I'll share my screen. I'll share my slides. I hope you all can see.
Yes, ma'am, visible.
So I am audible to all. I hope there is no disturbance. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the topic is the main topic which they have selected is therapeutic diet. So today's topic is about gluten-free diet and celiac disease. So Dr. Bora has already explained so nicely all the things about celiac disease. So as you all know, it's an autoimmune disorder occurring in genetically susceptible hosts and which is triggered by ingestion of wheat, barley, rye, and in which gluten peptides result in enteropathy and different types of symptoms which can affect multiple organs of the body as explained by Dr. Bora. So people with celiac disease, they cannot tolerate gluten, not even in small or minutest amounts, as gluten triggers an immune response that damages the lining of the small intestine. So you can see the peak over here. This is a normal intestine, and after gluten intake, you can see the changes. And villus atrophy, as explained by Dr. Bora, you can see it here. Because blunt villi, it can lead to poor absorption of very important nutrients. So complications has already been explained by sir. Gut-related complications can be diarrhea, fatigue, bloating, flatulence, weight loss, anemia, short stature, and there can also be non-gut-related complications like osteopenia, osteoporosis due to deficiency or malabsorption of calcium. Then different other organs can also be affected, and they can lead to neurological dysfunction, constipation, skin problems as in dermatitis herpetiformis, and in some patients it can also lead to intestinal lymphomas. So gluten-free diet is recommended for all celiac disease patients. Otherwise, it can, if the gluten is given, it can trigger an immune response, and with the foods containing gluten when they are consumed. Gluten-free diet is also recommended for non-celiac gluten sensitivity patients because taking gluten with them can lead to bloating or stomachache or diarrhea. So it has also been seen that gluten-free diet is also beneficial for patients suffering from IBS, though they have a separate specialized diet, that is FODMAP diet, but gluten-free diet is also part of it, and it helps to benefit patients with IBS. So this is the foods containing gluten, sir has already said, wheat, barley and rye. And in some patients, they cannot tolerate oats, but oats as such, they does not contain any gluten. And it is safe for most of the people. However, some oats, if they are contaminated, because if they are processed with the facilities which contain grains like wheat, rye, or barley. So the gluten part in the grains, it gives contributes to elasticity of the dough, and as well as it retains the moisture, and it also allows the dough to rise and provides a chewy structure, chewy texture to the dough. So name of the protein in cereals, in wheat, gluten is in the composition of 85 to 90%, and its fractions are gliadin and glutenin. In barleys, it is in the form of hodins, and in rye, it is not the normal spice rye, it's the grain, cereal grain, and the protein present is in scalins. So it has been seen that it's not taking the products with wheat, barley or rye. It's derivatives. They can also they can also trigger problems. So derivatives like triticale, a hybrid of wheat and rye, then malted barley flour, malted milk, brewer's yeast, they also contain, and they are capable of triggering the symptoms in celiac disease patients. So if we see the whole grains which are gluten free, so quinoa, brown rice, white rice, and certain kind of millets, buckwheat, jowar, bajra, sago, amaranth, they are all gluten free and can be consumed by celiac disease patients. Arrowroot will have to check whether it is pure gluten free, because otherwise arrowroot contains corn starch. But nowadays it is available and it is gluten free, but one has to check the labels. And again, oats, as I mentioned, they are gluten-free, but sometimes they are contaminated with gluten during processing. So we'll have to check the oats and while seeing their on the labels. So grains which have to be avoided: wheat, rye, barley, and they're all derivatives. So in cooked preparations, if we see, we'll have to avoid, celiac disease patients will avoid all kind of wheat flour products like chapati, kulcha, bread, puris, lacha prantha, other pranthas. And they can have makki ki roti, they can have...
Screen has stopped sharing.
So we need to stop sharing it again, and we have to start sharing.
Is it sharing and restart again?
Okay.
Someone has
Let's take it.
Yes, ma'am.
Because otherwise I'll have to show the pics so that the things are clear to everybody. Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in lieu of wheat products, one can have makki ki roti, one can have dosa even, then sago khichdi or chidwa, poha, etc. So fruits and vegetable, all fresh fruits and vegetables, they are naturally gluten free. All dry fruits and nuts, they are gluten free. But processed foods or processed nuts, they may contain gluten in the form of flavoring, when flavoring or some kind of thickener is being added to them. So one has to see the labels very carefully. Like you can see in this label, it's written gluten free. If it is written gluten free, then only one can consume processed fruits and vegetables. Then certain fruits and vegetables, we need to double check that whether it contains any derivatives of gluten. So the things added to processed fruits and vegetables, they are in the form of hydrolyzed vegetable protein, and mostly it contains wheat. Then there could be modified food starch, and the starch could be sourced from wheat, corn, or potato. Then there could be malt or maltodextrins, either from wheat or corn based. So if you can see this label, so it's written yellow cornmeal, chili powder, and maltodextrin. So anything written maltodextrin has to be avoided. Then certain canned fruits and vegetables, if they are canned with water or with natural juice, they can be consumed. But if any kind of sauces or any kind of fruits, if any this thing added, hydrolyzed vegetable protein or any kind of starch has been added, those things have to be strictly avoided. So dried fruits and vegetable, they fresh, they does not contain gluten at all. But if they are coated with some kind of sugar, so that sugar coating, that might contain malt or maltodextrin or any kind of hydrolyzed vegetable protein. So coating of the dry fruits has to be avoided. Then there could be cross contamination during the chopping of fruits and vegetables, which needs to be processed, because the chopping board which might have been used, it might have been used earlier for any gluten containing product. Then comes dairy products. All dairy products, they are naturally gluten free, like milk, butter, ghee, cheese, cream, then paneer, sour creams, yogurt. But we need to double check the foods like flavored milk or yogurts, processed cheese products like cheese sauces or spreads, then ice creams. They are sometimes mixed with the additives that may contain gluten. Khoa, if it is market made, that has to be avoided, because it might the vendors might have added some kind of food starch to thicken it. So if it is homemade, khoa can be consumed. You can see the pics: malted milk drink, ice creams, and cheese spreads. If it is added some kind of malt and modified food starch, that has to be avoided. Otherwise, pure dairy products one can consume. Then fleshy foods, all animal foods, they are naturally gluten free. And if the things, if they are being processed or cooked with soy sauce or some kind of flour or some kind of malt vinegar, it has been added as filler or flavoring, that has to be, those products have to be totally avoided. Because added sauces, rubs, marinades, they are commonly paired with some kind of protein sources or marinated with hydrolyzed protein starches. So fresh foods, fleshy foods you can take, but any kind of meat, poultry or fish that has been breaded should be avoided. Then proteins that are combined with the wheat-based soy sauce has to be avoided. Then it has been seen that chicken nuggets and fish sticks, they are generally made with the coating is done with the wheat flour. So all those things have to be avoided. Then gluten-free, some of the gluten-free protein-rich foods which can be consumed easily, they are all kind of legumes, peas, peanuts, pulses, then nuts and seeds. They has to be fresh and uncoated. Then all kinds of red meat, but it has to be taken in prescribed amount these days. Then poultry can be taken, seafoods like fresh fish, scallops or shellfish can be taken. Then traditional soy foods, which are not adulterated with any kind of sauce, tofu and tempeh can be consumed. Then there are certain high protein foods which needs to be double checked, are processed meats used for any kind of sausages, salamis and bacons. Then any kind of ground meats can be contaminated with wheat flour or maida. Then proteins that have been combined with sauces or seasonings should be avoided. And any ready-to-eat proteins, protein bars, So those have to be avoided. Fats and oils, again, they are naturally gluten free, but in some cases, the contamination comes from when they are mixed with some kind of flavor to enhance the flavor of oils, or some kind of thickening is added to oils. So the double checking of oils has to be checked with the cooking sprays which are being used during the air fryer machines to use less of oil. So oils with added flavors or spices have to be avoided. Then comes spices, sauces, and condiments. Again, most spices, sauces, condiments are naturally gluten free. But if they are being added emulsifiers or stabilizers, or to enhance their flavor, enhancers are used, those things have to be strictly avoided, because it has been seen that certain sauces and condiments, they are mixed with the food starch or maltodextrin or malt or wheat flour. And it has also been seen that if hing powder, they must have some, I cannot name any company, but it has been seen that some kind of wheat starch is being added to the powdered hing. So in that case, hing granules can be taken, and it can be grinded at home. So other spices and sauces which needs to be avoided are wheat-based soy sauce, because it might contain hydrolyzed wheat starch, and malt vinegar should also be avoided. Only the things, spices and sauces which can be consumed are white vinegar or distilled vinegar without any contamination or being added any kind of starch, and apple cider vinegar. Those can be used. Here we can see one has to avoid all kinds of these sauces. In tomato sauce, especially ketchup and tomato sauce has to be avoided. But tomato puree can be used, because normally it is without any added adulterant. Then we'll come to the snacks. All market-made snacks made up of wheat, suji, or maida have to be strictly avoided. So homemade snacks can be used, like we can use dhokla, which is made up of besan. Then sabudana vada can be prepared at home. Dosa can be consumed. Idli made up of rice can be used. Poha or besan pura can be consumed instead of the market-made snacks. Then desserts, all kinds of desserts made with khoa or ice creams or cakes or pastries or certain kind of muffins, cakes have to be strictly avoided. But one can consume the desserts made at home, like besan barfi can be easily made at home, besan laddu, and then petha, if it is market made, that can also be used. Then rice kheer, sago kheer can be prepared at home. Gajrela can be made at home in lieu of the desserts available in the market. Then comes gluten-free beverages, water, fruit juice, which is 100% fruit juice, coffee, because the coffee beans, they naturally does not contain any gluten. But if any added flavoring or any kind of additive is added, that needs to be checked. Then tea, sports drinks, soda, energy drinks can be consumed, lemonades can be taken. But all these sports drinks, soda, or energy drinks needs to be taken in restricted amounts, since they contain added sugar as well as the alcohol contents. Fruit shakes can be made at home, like mango shake or banana shake, nimbu pani, nariyal pani can be consumed. Then beverages which needs to be double checked are all beverages made from malt, barley, or other gluten containing grains should be avoided. And beers, ales, lagers made from gluten containing grains, then non-distilled liquors, then malt beverages, wine coolers should be avoided. The beverages which can be consumed are ciders, wine, sherry, spirits, port, liquors which are gluten free and which are made from the fruits can be consumed. Then if somebody has to purchase from the market some specific products, one needs to check the label, because all kinds of you can say products like fun drinks or some nutrition supplements, breakfast cereals, Bonvita, These all contain malt extract and malt flavorings. Because it has been seen that in some nutrition supplements also malt is being added, or the products made from barley. Chocolates, the pure unsweetened chocolate derived from roasted cocoa beans is naturally gluten free. But it has been seen that chocolate available in the market have additional ingredients that may contain gluten, have to be avoided. Cocoa powder is generally gluten free and can be consumed, but chocolate powder, maybe it can be mixed with some kind of gluten, it has to be avoided. So when you are buying something, you must check the labels and just see that whether the things written like modified food starch or maltodextrin, it has to be avoided. Then malt vinegar, malt extract, malt syrup, gluten stabilizer, soya or teriyaki sauce, or products which contain wheat protein, wheat flour, emulsifier. So all these things, if written on the labels, one has to avoid these kind of things. Then if you are going to the market purchasing some flours for and it is written that it is gluten free, so buy only branded products. Don't buy any loose flour, because maybe some kind of adulterant or additive must have been added. So purchase only branded gluten-free products, and try to take the things which are, try to avoid the things which are processed and in which it is written that gluten is mixed in some kind of flavoring or seasoning. So then oats, again, as I have said earlier, cross-contamination with gluten can be done during the processing time. So consume oats only if it is written certified gluten-free. Because certification of gluten-free is only given to the food manufacturers who have applied for and have been granted certification of the product status of gluten-free by submitting the test results that shows that this does not contain any gluten. So one has to check the labels certified gluten-free. Otherwise, some products, they might show gluten-free or no gluten or without gluten. So that is the easiest and the fastest way to spot a gluten-free product. So in some products, this might have written that it contains less than 20 ppm of gluten. So those products can also be used, because it should always be less than 20 ppm parts per million of gluten. So then how to eliminate gluten at home? Like Dr. Bora said that it can be contaminated at home using various kinds of like chakla, belna, if wheat chapati has been or some kind of other maida has been used with the usage of this chakla, belan, tawa, prat. So it has to be kept separate, or it should be washed properly before making any gluten-free products. So one can buy electric chakki, which is dedicated for only gluten-free products. Even masala grinders can be used for whole grains, which can be grinded at home. Then always grind small quantity of grains and keep it in the airtight containers to get any kind of infection or any kind of pilferage done. Then inform all members of the family that for a specific dietary requirement of the family member at home. So avoid gluten containing snacks and prefer the gluten free snacks which can be made at home, and it can also be shared with other family members so that the celiac disease patient doesn't get isolated and he doesn't get depressed that there is a separate things being made for me or used. It's only used by me. Then if you are going out, plan your meals in advance. You can carry some homemade food if you come to know that gluten-free products will not be available over there. And if eating out, you can choose from rice or dry vegetables or curd or fruits or salads. but make sure they are not mixed with any other ingredients. And then if you are going to somebody else place, you can take your own gluten-free flour with you to make the chapatis. So like Dr. Bora said that gluten is also mixed with some medicines, some vitamins and supplements. It is also found in some herbal and nutritional supplements, even toothpaste, mouthwashes and cosmetic products. Sometimes they do contain gluten containing products. So gluten-free diet, already explained that it is gluten-free diet is not, palatable, and sometimes it becomes difficult to take as wheat is a staple food, and we are in the habit of taking wheat as well as products made from wheat. And if we are continuously taking gluten-free diet, it can lead to some kinds of deficiencies in folate, riboflavin, niacin, and iron due to malabsorption. Also, if gluten-rich diet is taken, and also gluten-free diet is lower in fiber. And fiber these days is very important for non-communicable diseases, for our digestive health, and it has to be taken regularly in our diet. So one can take gluten-free foods like fruits and vegetables, legumes, so that they are rich in protein, certain whole grains, dairy products, and oils, as well as non-vegetarians. They can take meat, fish, and poultry, and try to take more of fresh as well as whole grains or whole foods instead of taking processed foods in any form. So children need special care because they are at the growing age. So they should be given at least 5 to 6 times meals a day. They can consume milk, fruit juices, fruits, soups, and other beverages. And sometimes in gluten celiac diseases, there is some kind of milk malabsorption is there. So they can take other products like curd or paneer, etc., or non-vegetarian foods. So all edible containing wheat, barley products should be kept beyond the child's reach so that unknowingly he doesn't take anything. Dining table and fridge should always be free of wheat and bakery products. Then family members can also share the food prepared for the child, and mother should prepare. Mother has an important role to play, and she should prepare tasty, delicious foods for the child, as well as she can give him healthy foods in the tiffin. So when the child is going to the school, the teacher has to be informed, and proper education has to be given that the child has not to be shared his tiffin with others, or he cannot take food from others. And there should be some gluten-free candies and snacks in his bag. The nutritious gluten-free recipes are like vegetable poha, chila, sabudana vada, vegetable idli, aloo tikki without any maida added to it, and fruits, etc. can be given to the child in the tiffin. So this is basically the composition of gluten-free chapatis, which can be made at home. Even the stuffing of certain vegetables can be done in it to make it more nutritious and fiber-rich. So the composition is rice flour, makki flour, chana flour, soya atta. I have already written the composition. This can be mixed together and make the chapatis to look like wheat chapatis. Guar gum and xanthan gum is being added to give the puffiness to the chapatis. Then this is the sample menu, which one adult this is for adult, which one can consume. Like in the morning, one can have tea or milk, and along with the almonds. Then makki roti or missi stuffed roti made with the flour, which I have already told you in the last slide. Besan puda or masala dosa or utpam or vegetable poha with peanuts and vegetable can be given. And then in mid-morning, any kind of banana shake or any fruit shakes can be consumed, lassi or fruits. Then in lunch and dinner, nutri khichdi, it can be mixed with various grains along with curd. Then rice or pulao with added vegetables can be consumed. Then all kind of dals can be taken. Curd, maybe in the form of raita, can be taken. In Swedish, rice kheer, sago kheer, gajarela, besan halwa can be consumed. And during evening time, if one feels hungry, pakoda, besan pura, roasted chana, sprouted moong can be taken. So from dietitian's perspective, I would, bring to all everybody's notice, if somebody is diagnosed with the celiac disease, the individuals must seek information, whole information, a good information on gluten-free foods as well as diets. He or she should consult a qualified and dedicated nutritionist or dietitian who is acquainted with this condition and well acquainted with this condition. And the patient should contact local celiac societies or join the patient support groups so that they can have maximum knowledge or education regarding gluten-free diets. They can read it in the medical journals and surf the net for more education. Then they should get their medical assessments done regularly so that there should not be any deficiencies which can be taken care of, like calcium, iron, folic acid, or vitamin B12. Then antibody test should be done, and they should so that it can also be diagnosed that there should not be any risk associated with these gluten-free diets. Then future research is required. Mass screening for CD patients must be considered for timely diagnosis and treatment. So till date, there is no cure. Only cure is one has to follow the gluten-free diet, and further future research is required. Then the researchers could work towards developing a strain of genetically modified gliadin-free wheat, and then some kind of immunization, if possible, can be developed to induce tolerance to gluten. Thank you. And there is one more slide. I think this is the book which has been written by one of our colleagues, Mr. B.N. Bera. He has written this book specially for gluten-free patient, and it contains approximately 350 recipes and all tried and very nutritious recipes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for such a detailed talk on gluten-free diet. You covered all aspects and all, including all food groups for the, especially for the children group also, and for the mothers to take care of. And during these the age group of students who are going to school, and their teachers and the school should also be made aware of about the gluten-free importance and to take care of their students. Ma'am, thank you again for such a comprehensive and detailed talk. You talked about all the important. As you said that wheat is a staple diet, and it has all the. It is included in most of the food groups and most of these recipes we have. So omitting it out is a big challenge, but then again, it is very important to cater for, and especially adherence is required. So proper counseling and qualified dietitian is required. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now we move on to the third speaker. Thereafter, we will have a session on question and answers. The third speaker is Dr. Prem Prakash Vyas. He's an associate professor from Dr. S.R. Rajasthan Ayurved University, Jodhpur. He will be talking about gluten-free diet in lieu of Ayurveda. He is also the head, his key responsibilities include head PG department, head Center for Innovation and Research Network. He is also the head of Media Cell, University Placement Cell. He has a rich experience of 16 years and also this keen interest in research. He's presented 10 articles which are published in international and national journals. So, sir, we look forward for your hearing on Ayurvedic perspective for gluten-free diet. Can you hear us, sir?
Thank you. Yeah, ma'am. I'm getting you. Now I'm sharing my presentation. Is it, is it visible?
Yes, yes, sir.
Am I audible also?
Yes, sir, you may begin, sir.
So, I'm Dr. Prem Prakash Vyas from AIIMS University, Jodhpur. First of all, I wish to express my cordial thanks to Dr. Bhardwaj sir and also for contacting me and giving me an opportunity to speak with all of you on gluten-free diet from Ayurvedic views. Now, I wish to say that keeping in view the presentation of Dr. Vora and Madam Malhotra, which gave us a tremendous, knowledgeable, and very extensive informations and shared a great knowledge upon this topic. So, I must say that though celiac disease is only and only manageable by the strict gluten-free diet, so it is a factor that we must accept the nature of this disease as well as the limitations of every medical science, including allopathy globally. Several years back, I got one patient from DMRC Jodhpur, one relative residing at Ludhiana, was my first case, and I received only reports of that patient through a DMRC scientist, and I was asked to do something because the allopathic science has its own limitations, except advising a strict gluten-free diet. I had told him that Ayurveda can be a hope in this condition. So we had started her treatment. That was a girl patient, and I had not seen till today her, but on the successful treatment by Ayurveda, her parents are regularly in touch with me, and they are still getting in my contact, and they extend their blessings to me. That experience will be displayed during this presentation. Ayurveda about celiac disease. As we know that Ayurveda is the eternal medical science, the first ever medical science, not only medical science, but it is the life science of the planet. As per Ayurveda, all the cells of the body have the capacity of working as well as of thinking. This process of thinking makes the cells special in their working as cells can decide the good and bad. But due to certain regions, this capacity of the cells will be hampered by our diet and lifestyle. Uh, as I remember my childhood days and my schooling days and even my college days, I had not even listened about the celiac disease. It means the incidence of this disease was the rarest one in 80s, in 70s, 80s, and even 90s also. And after that, it has emerged, and nowadays it is reporting very rapidly at Jodhpur. Uh, I am getting so many patients. I think more than 50 patients which I am treating, celiac disease, celiac patients. After after getting the advice from allopathic doctors of only following of the strict gluten-free diets, but it doesn't make the parents so hopeful, and they think over it with anxiety that their baby will not get a very popular dietary items made up of wheat and barley, etc., as we are accustomed in India. So, with the Ayurvedic treatment, we are observing a significant improvement in terms of gaining weight, in terms of subsiding gradually all the symptoms of celiac disease like bloating, sprue, and abdominal pain, etc. And also, it is being evidenced by the laboratory findings and clinical findings also. What Ayurveda says about this celiac disease? Celiac disease falls under Grahini Rog, because Grahini is the name of the small intestine. In Ayurvedic terminology, the small intestines are called as Grahini. So Grahini is the container, while Agni is the content. We know that Agni means the digestive mechanism, the digestive whole process, including digestive enzymes and whole process of digestion is being termed in Ayurveda as Agni. Agni, Jatha Agni, as you all know better. If one is affected with the visheshas of Agni or Grahini, the other is also bound to be disturbed. So we emphasize to maintain the wellness of the small intestine, that is the Grahini, as well as the balanced state of Agni, that is the whole process of digestion, be in balanced state. As indicated by Ayurveda, celiac disease is the after effect of the anomalous conduct by the resistant cells. These cells act unusually to gluten. Ayurvedic treatment for celiac disease is gone for correcting the irregular immune system. Another part of Ayurveda is appropriate detoxification from the body. All you know that Ayurveda has a specialty of Panchakarma that is aimed at the process of detoxification. Appropriate detoxification disposes of the sicknesses, and it can give us the best well-being. Celiac ailment is an immune system condition which implies it includes an issue with resistant framework that causes element battling white blood cells to assault on tissues. In celiac malady, gluten ingestion triggers white cells to assault the coating of small digestive system, leading to the atrophy of villi. From an Ayurvedic point of view, this condition shows an awkwardness of certain body energies causing debilitated in vulnerability and processing. The stomach-related framework is excessively touchy, causing a hypersensitive response, making it impossible to specific sustenances. Ayurvedic line of treatment is to utilize herbs which are immunomodulators. Along these lines, adjust the insusceptible framework and endeavor to resuscitate the villi of digestion tracts. Be that as it may have to keep away from gluten in starting, yet bit by bit, after appropriate treatment, gluten can be added bit by bit into the eating routine. After after completion of the duration of 2-3 months of strictly gluten-free diet, we advise add a very little quantity of wheat chapati once, then twice a week, and so on. And this doesn't produce or develop any discomfort, and it doesn't hamper the pace of recovery in terms of gaining weight and other clinical symptoms. We know the nature of the gluten. While understanding this celiac disease, as per Ayurveda, all the celiac patients are being mainly treated with the restriction of gluten intake, and the cases of celiac disease, we see that these are increasing day by day all around the world. Reason is very simple. We have changed our diet and lifestyle both to a very bad condition, which is dragging us to all these problems. If we check with Ayurveda, there are 2 points which can easily help us to achieve the treatment of celiac disease. Firstly, the nature of gluten. There is a concept of visha, or foreign body, or undesirable harmful substance, which is termed as vish, or in general language, poison. So there is a concept of visha in Ayurveda, and amazingly, there are many proteins in that list of visha, which category substances. Gluten is also a protein. It causes dryness or wasting in the body. Therefore, this might be one thing which is causing problems like gluten intolerance. Ayurveda always recommend taking the wheat and other grains only after starting these for 1 year storage. This is clinically very true. After taking the newly cropped grains, pain in stomach, some discomfort in digestion process, and diarrhea commonly appear. When we look at the scientific perspective of the same, one thing is very clear that once we store something, there will be certain changes in the grains because today we are well aware that nothing is inert in the world. So this should be remembered for always to use the old grains. Psychology of cells, as we know, that all cells have their own psychological values, and we should take care of this aspect for always. Ayurveda has some medicines to tackle this condition. There are certain combinations in Ayurveda which are told to be useful for both digestive system and psychological problems. When we look at the literature properly, research proves that there is a strong link between celiac disease and the conditions like ADHD, depression, and schizophrenia. This gives strength to the idea of involvement of psychology with condition of celiac disease. Ayurvedic management for celiac disease, as per Ayurveda, celiac disease is the resultant of the wrong decisions by the immune cells. Immune cells behave abnormally to gluten, which is otherwise a common object found in routine food items. All human beings do not have this hypersensitivity, means gluten is uh, not itself tolerable for those patients, uh, but something is wrong within the body. So the treatment should be towards correcting this wrong thing within the body. Line of Ayurveda treatment is based on the following points. First is correcting the immune system. As celiac disease is the problem involving hypersensitivity of immune cells to gluten. So unless or until immune system is not working normally, a patient cannot get rid of the problem of gluten intolerance. Calming down the gut brain. Gut feeling is not just an idiom, this is all science. Gut carries more neurons than the brain and the spinal cord together. These neurons add to the intelligence of the gut. This gut brain, famous as second brain, not only helps the body to make right decisions, but also responsible for the better working of the immune system. Therefore, the main concept of the Ayurvedic management for celiac is to restore the normalcy of the gut brain too. Correcting the digestive disturbance. Along with these, digestive disturbance like diarrhea, loss of appetite, bloating, etc., should also be addressed. The concept of digestive system is famous as Agni in Ayurveda. Agni helps in making decisions. Therefore, every decision power of human body is under control of the Agni. And we need to nourish this Agni in a better way while treating gluten. It becomes very important. Improving the absorption of from the food. The nutrition status of the body is severely affected because of improper absorption of macro and micronutrients. These nutrients are essential for the healthy life Wheat carries a lot of nutrition, but there are a lot of other things too. Other than wheat, which carries nutrition, villi of intestine, which are responsible for absorption of the nutrients, should be capable of good activity. This is taken care while treating cases of celiac disorders. We know that the avoiding wheat, etc., of having gluten is the exclusive management for the celiac disease. But Ayurveda thinks beyond this framework. Ayurveda takes it in holistic framework of healthcare, where food habit and food items are taken care of. Immune system and villus atrophy are the targets to be treated. Uh, nutrients and micronutrients are to be taken care of, taken up by the body. There certain Ayurvedic medicines or herbs uh, may help in treating this celiac problem. As indicated by Ayurveda, celiac malady can be classified under Grahani, caused because of variation from the norm in the Agni of a person. The accompanying measures are very useful. Initially, drink newly arranged all around agitated buttermilk spiced with cumin, ginger, and curry leaves routinely. This will enhance Agni and, in addition, improve ingestion of diet too. Secondly, avoid substantial matured slick sustenances and nourishments containing gluten, as we have studied and we have seen in the presentations of both previous speakers. Third one, eat light and effectively edible nourishments like rice porridge, gruel, and green gram soups. Once stomach-related limit increment gradually begin presenting strong sustenances, drink water overflowed with cumin, coriander seeds, and ginger powder. Eat bale foods grown from the ground consistently. Certain medicines are found very, very beneficial while treating these celiac patients. In my experience, medicines like Praval Panchamrit, Kutas, Bilv, Musta, Grani Kaparas, uh, Dadima stick powder, Sivakshar Pachan powder, Bal Chaturbhadra powder, Evipatigar powder, Muleti powder, etc., are significantly found very helpful to manage celiac. We can here see very important herbs which we find everywhere uh, across the globe. Uh, for example, aloe vera, amla, coriander, vivitaki, haritaki, fennel seeds, pipali, drumstick, asafoetida, tezpatta, cinnamon. So the main field of act of these herbs is to improve the functionality of villi in terms of better absorption of all nutrients to ignite the gastric fire, to improve the quality of absorption process and reabsorption also by the large gut. Eating regimen and lifestyle advice, as we have heard by the previous both eminent speakers of following a strict gluten-free diet. Avoid all substances that have gluten, including nourishments produced using wheat, rye, oats, and grains. Also maintain a strategic distance from handled sustenances that may contain gluten. Include yogurt, buttermilk, squeezes, heartbeats, and organic products in eating routine. Include rice, ragi, buckwheat, entire corn, millet, and without gluten oats. All vegetables and seasonal fruits are naturally gluten-free, as we have heard. So, thank you very much to all audience and to organizers of this webinar. I again express my cordial thanks to organizers, including Dr. Bhardwaji and Dr. Lipan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving us the details of, in terms of Ayurveda, what to eat and how it can improve, how the celiac disease can be improved. We talked about the growing small intestine roga and the resistant cells and how they, hypersensitive they are and how it becomes resistant. We talked about the nature of gluten and the psychology of cells, which leads to ADHD and depression and other related problems. So, I talked about the importance of newly harvested grains to be included in the diet and the various other Ayurvedic management in correcting the immune system and calming down the gut, uh, improving the absorption of the nutrients. So you talked about various different herbs and which is like aloe vera, amla, coriander, ghee, pipla, cinnamon, fennel seeds, etc. Buttermilk to be included with cumin and curry leaves. So thank you, sir, for such a vast coverage of Ayurveda in terms of celiac disease and dealing with dealing with it. Now we come to the end of the session, which is the question and answer session. I request all speakers, as asked by the participants, I'll begin with, there is one question on importance of gluten-free diet in autoimmune diseases.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, pardon. Can you come again?
Ma'am, there's a question on importance of gluten-free diet in autoimmune diseases.
So, you see, gluten-free diet is recommended for only celiac disease patients. So, if somebody is, celiac disease itself is a autoimmune disorder. So one can take gluten-free diet in patients suffering from celiac disease. Other autoimmune patients, suffering from other orders, they can have a normal diet. They can take wheat and a normal diet, I must say.
Okay, okay. There's another question on what about millets like barnyard millet? Are they safe? I think this question is for Sir Dr. Vyas.
Sir is muted, I think.
Sir, you'll have to unmute yourself. Dr. Vyas?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
Ma'am, there's a question on what about millets like yard millet? Are they safe to consume?
Yeah. First of all, we have to ensure that all these recipes or preparations are strictly free of gluten, and then only these can be advisable.
Okay.
I'm not bajra. It's a kind of bajra and it is gluten free. I think one can take.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. There is a question on, is there any test to know the presence of gluten in diet?
I think Dr. Bora will be able to tell that question more nicely.
Uh, I think he's not there, no?
He's not there.
Okay. So, sir, could you give us some knowledge on, is there any test to know the presence of gluten? I think the physician could only answer. Okay, we'll take up the questions related to diet.
Yeah.
Okay, sir, and there's another question on how to make the diet more palatable for children, for pediatric group.
See, the children need to have a good counseling session with the dietitians so that children are convinced that they have to avoid wheat and wheat related products in their diet. So we can we can use lot of spices which are not harmful to adequate limits. We can make use of fruits, we can make use of vegetables, whichever is acceptable to the children. So like I said, we can make it more tasty, like we can give tikki, which is I think acceptable to the children, then sago vada or sago kheer, or you can say besan pura, we can add paneer to it, or we can do the filling in some kind of thing which becomes more tastier as well as nutritious.
Okay, thank you. There is another question on how to treat a pregnant woman with celiac disease. Diet for pregnant women.
Yeah, a pregnant woman has to follow all the instructions regarding gluten-free diet. So, since in pregnancy there is increased requirement of protein and calories, so protein sources she can have, high protein diet in the form of pulses, or if she is non-vegetarian, she can take fresh eggs and other fleshy foods in a fresh, form, and the things have to be made at home. Or she can put more of protein in the diet in the form of besan pura, and nuts can be added. Nuts are good. Then energizes, all oils and nuts and seeds can be consumed. So we'll have to plan the diet for a pregnant woman as per restrictions done in the gluten-free diet.
Okay. And so, ma'am, that's important. According to the RDA, one can plan
Yeah.
And how to correct the nutritional deficiencies along with celiac diet.
The deficiencies anemia. One can have iron-rich foods. One can put more of vegetables, vitamin C to enhance the iron absorption. Then egg can be taken. Then soya bean, whole grains. They are rich in iron, like whole pulses can be taken. Then certain leafy vegetables, which can be made in iron kadai, and along with that, vitamin C in any form can be taken. Then calcium-rich foods, all dairy products, they are rich in calcium, they can be consumed, and market-made foods have to be avoided. So all these things in which we can see the iron deficiency, calcium deficiency, we can correct it with other forms of food products other than gluten-made foods.
Thank you, ma'am. There's a question for Sir, Dr. Vyas.
Yeah.
How can we incorporate aloe vera and amla for for catering for celiac disease?
Yeah, ma'am. There are several medicinal compounds in which amla and aloe vera are included in their composition. Apart from that, one can take a few slices of fresh aloe vera amla, and nowadays fresh amla or amla are available in the market in this winter season. So we can procure from the market these things. And there are so many recipes which our mother or dadi or nani make several chutneys of amla, several other uh, raita type something recipes. These are very much popular in our day-to-day dietary routines or our kitchen menu. All these are included.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ma'am, there's a question that there is always a weight loss with the patient suffering from celiac disease. How to overcome that?
For that, gluten has to be, avoided. Otherwise, a balanced diet rich in other flours, normal balanced diet containing all food groups, and diet rich in protein and calories can be consumed to increase the weight of patient. So all food groups have to be included in a balanced way, because now the thing is wheat and wheat products have to be restricted and derivatives of wheat. So one has to identify which foods contain whether it's wheat or derivatives of wheat. Other than those products, one can have a normal diet including the flours made by, like I mentioned, gram flour, like makki ka atta, rice flour, arahar flour. So all these things can be taken in the diet along with milk and milk products, maybe pulses, and in a limitation of fats and oil. So all these can be taken and have a which will help in weight gain of the patient.
Thank you, ma'am. I think we've answered all questions so far. Now we come to the end of the session. I thank all the speakers for sparing time and all the participants for joining us for this session. Very important session on gluten-free diet. I think to take away message would be celiac disease is an immune mediated enteropathy initiated by ingestion of gluten. So gluten has to be omitted from the diet. Wheat, which is rich in gluten and it is found to be the most staple diet in Indian food, has to be omitted. So there are various labels which. Yes, sir. You want to say something?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. I want to express my few words with all of you.
Yes, sir.
Uh, as we know that on the basis of research works carried out globally, we should go beyond those limits by incorporating Ayurvedic views in some research projects on this, because even if myself is suppose a celiac patient, I can't manage, my family can't manage this strictly protocol diet and routine uh, everywhere and all the times. So we should break these limits at some point. We should not adhere with all these international protocols. This is short of unfair to strictly adhere these limitations.
Absolutely, sir. As you said that, there are the symptoms to every patient with celiac disease is different. Somebody has diarrhea and somebody has weight loss and, somebody has depression. So we can't stick on to one symptom to this disease. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to add on. So it should be an individualized approach. It should not be the
Absolutely.
standard diet chart for everyone. So one has to take care of all the diet history of the patient and plan the diet according to his or her needs. So, which
Absolutely.
foods have to be incorporated more, or if the patient is obese, we can restrict the calories, how we can reduce, how we can restrict the fats and all. So, it has to be an individualized approach. That is my view.
Absolutely, ma'am. We have to set certain goals of offering, various varieties and alternatives to the diet in the form of other flours such as soya bean, chickpea, black gram, bajra. There's so many, water chest, so many things, kottu kata. So I think so many varieties are available. It is, I think, knowledge is required and constant counseling and compliance is very important.
Yeah.
So, the labeling of the gluten-free diet is there, but the knowledge as to whether it is gluten-free, gluten residue-free, and so many, not no detectable gluten. So one has to know the exact nomenclature and the importance of the, specific labeling of the diet is one has to understand, and the awareness regarding this is very, very important. Labeling of gluten-free diet and understanding of this. And also it becomes very important, to understand when the patient comes to complete take the history of his practices, his intakes, and the 24-hour record or the general practices through food frequency. I think that is also important to consider. Thereafter, one can plan, and then follow up is another very important aspect which should be considered as to see the the compliance of the diet is there or not, or some addition or some tailor-made specific requirement has to be done. So I think this should cater for, so that, especially for the children who are anorexic at times or their growing pattern is important to consider both height and weight, and to cater for, the other nutrient deficiencies like the anemia, calcium deficiency, vitamin B12, all those B complex vitamins to be considered. I think this all becomes very, very important, and these goals have to be met through ensuring proper intake of other food groups, which are they are not contaminated with other, gluten food. So that has to be incorporated. And as ma'am suggested, there is, you give us the sample menu that has to be with lot of examples and lot of recipes can be incorporated and can be guided to the patient or his family members or to the mother. I think that importance of generating awareness is required. So, with all this, I thank you all, and I thank our director, sir,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Sandeep Mishra, for supporting us in conducting this series of webinars so far. So, next